So yesterday we talked about how minerals make up rocks, and today we're going to talk about the different types of rocks. So our question is, how are rocks categorized? So rocks are made up of many different minerals like we learned yesterday, and we categorize rocks based on how they are formed. So you'll see in this picture we have this igneous rock, which is minerals forming and fusing together after being melted. So in this, we know that we have extreme heat going on. And this picture over here shows you this lava coming up through the crust. And this is showing you land above here, this gray part. The other type of rock we're going to talk about is called metamorphic. And metamorphic rock is made from many different minerals, some of which are listed below. And these are minerals that are reforming and fusing together with heat and pressure over a great amount of time. So this one also can occur because of things coming up from the mantle. There is a lot of heat and pressure involved in creating these metamorphic rock. And the last one is the sedimentary rock, where minerals are cemented together with pressure and time, and you end up with what looks like these striped rock areas where there's many different layers that were pushed together with this different type of pressure. So like we said, we have a couple different types of rock: igneous, sedimentary, metamorphic. And one thing you'll notice about the igneous is you'll see larger chunks. It looks a lot more like almost like a granite, like a countertop you might see. The sedimentary, even though it's more difficult to see in this picture, usually has multiple layers, and the metamorphic has evidence of pressure. So igneous rocks. They're formed from the cooling of melted rock, either lava or magma, into solid form. So you can have this chamber of magma, and it can either come up through a volcano, and this would be extrusive igneous rocks, which cool really quickly on the surface of the earth. And these are really fine grained, and they don't really have a lot of crystal growth. Or you can have this kind of leakage from the magma chamber, and underground within the crust, this little bit of magma cools a lot slower because it's deeper in the earth. And in this, you have rocks that are really, really coarse grained. So if the cooling occurs underground, the rock is intrusive or plutonic. If it occurs on the Earth's crust or surface, the rock is extrusive, or another way to say that is volcanic rock. Metamorphic rocks form when existing rocks are subjected to really intense heat and pressure, and this is usually really deep below the Earth's surface. So you already have this magma that's forming this igneous rock, and then we have this really lot of pressure and a lot of heat coming in, and it can change the rock that's already formed. So metamorphic, you can think of like when a butterfly changes, think of morphic, like morphing into something else. So these conditions usually change the original minerals of the rock into new minerals by changing the chemical compositions. Sedimentary rocks are either detrital or they're chemical. So compaction of sediments leads to the rocks being formed by pressure. So when you have these layers and layers and layers that are loading up on top of each other, as pressure comes down on it, those layers start to form, and this cementation type thing happens. And fossils are really commonly found in this type of rock. So as you see in this first, we have eroded sediments that end up in the water and they begin to settle. This is called sedimentation. So we have them at the bottom of the water. As time goes on, more and more layers pile up down on the lower layers. So these lower layers are the older layers. As more and more sediment comes on top, it's pushing these down. This is compaction. And then you see here that more layers and further compaction forces out the water that was once in between the layers. So you saw in here there was this water in between the layers, this little blue dots. And in this picture, you can see that because of this compaction or this pressure, the water is forced out. And then in number 4, you see that salt crystals glue the layers together, and this is called cementation. And rock mass is the rock mass that's end up being formed is sedimentary. And in between these layers, if an organism were to pass away or get caught in between them, like a plant, this is how fossils would be formed. And then when it's compacted, it makes almost like an indentation within the rock, and that's how fossils can be formed. Go ahead and move on to your worksheet for today. Once you've completed that, check your playlist to see what's next.